Allison Field, and I want to welcome you to our YouTube channel, Create Your Blank, where we share stories of amazing people who have created their blank. We share how they got started and what inspired them on their journey of creating where they are today. Our wish is for you to experience your fullest expression so that your life is full of joy and passion because you're connecting with your heart and letting it guide your path. Today, we have Robin Finney with us in the studio, and I'm so excited to have her on with us to share her story. Welcome, Robin.
Hi, Allison. Thank you so much.
So glad you're here.
Me too.
So to jump us off and get started, why don't you share with us what you currently do out in the world?
Yeah. Ooh, that's always, as we were talking before this, I said, oh, that always feels like it's a loaded question. But my blank really is supporting people in connecting to who they are on a deeper level at their core. I call it a Soulo, Soulo experience, or a solo journey. Mm-hmm. And it's really about discovering who you are and knowing yourself in that way so that you can in turn be that person with everyone that you meet wherever you are in the world, whether it's with yourself or with others.
Cool. So can you tell us a little bit about your solo journeys or experiences? What does that look like for somebody who would be interested in doing that?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's different variations of it. If somebody is wanting to go on a solo travel experience, then I would help them in curating that journey and coaching and supporting them, like really getting clear on what their intentions are, how they want to feel on their experience, because oftentimes we focus more on what we want to do rather than thinking about like, oh, how do I actually want to be? How do I want to feel? And then supporting and uncovering any blocks, anxieties, anything like that, so you can really show up fully, more confident, more authentically. And then there's another aspect where it is solo, just coaching. So you may not actually be going on a physical journey somewhere, but it could be an internal journey. And then also group-led retreats where we're all together and we're diving in.
Cool. And so what inspired you to start solo experiences?
Oh, so I quit my corporate job in 2018, and that was really my own solo experience. And I quit my job so that I could travel the world. I didn't know at the time, I actually didn't know what a nomad was at the time. I just knew I wanted to travel. And then I bought a one-way ticket to Thailand. And when I got there, I started meeting other travelers and realizing like, other people do this. This is a thing. Like they're nomads that don't have like a physical home somewhere or home base, and they're just traveling all over. And so I traveled for about 8 months that year. And then at the beginning of 2019, I just got this download, and it came through. And before, it was one of those moments where I woke up and I had this like clear download. I got on my computer, and next thing you know, it's nighttime. I'm still in my pajamas, and I've been just creating a sales page for taking people on solo journeys. And I didn't know, it was like wanting people to travel in different styles, varieties, stay in different places, experience the city, experience nature. Because what I realized was I was taking my own experiences as a nomad, because so many people would ask me like how I did that and what I did in these experiences. And so it just naturally came through as like, ooh, this is something I'm meant to do with other people.
Yeah. I love that. And I love how it occurred for you and how you got the download and then rolled into that. And, traveling can be, a really daunting sometimes experience for many people, right?
Yeah.
And having somebody like you to kind of navigate the way and show them that, yeah, it's possible and you can do it. And and here's how I did it, and you actually had the experience of doing it and can
Yeah.
share, that with people who are wanting to do kind of the same things, huh?
Yeah, and I always like to focus on I find there's such a culture around like getting out of you got to get out of your comfort zone, which yes, step out of your comfort zone. And what I recognized is that's why the reason I changed the spelling of solo is because I wanted it to be unique to each person, to their own soul journey, soul experience, and
Mm-hmm.
recognize that their comfort zone is different. And so, because none of us are the same. So for me, I'm like the type where I'm like, just dive in and I'll figure it out. Like, don't give me a itinerary. Let me just show up and have the place show me.
Yeah.
And some people, their comfort zone is getting on the plane. Some people, their comfort zone is maybe going to a different neighborhood in the town where they already live because they're not ready to step outside of their country or their state. So
Mm-hmm.
it's really supporting each person individually where they are rather than like this whole idea that it's like, this is my lifestyle and you've got to do it the same way.
Yeah, yeah. That's kind of cool because you kind of tap into the energy of the other person, right?
Yeah.
And where they are and meet them where they are and start that journey and that path with them and hold their hand a little bit, huh?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So how many countries have you been to? Do you know?
Think I'm up to 46 or 47, maybe. I
Wow.
think 47, but yeah. Almost
Wow.
50. Almost there.
Well, I'd feel really confident doing a solo journey with you. I think that would be
Yeah.
fun. So tell me a little bit about Wandering Ant and how that sort of started and how that feeds into what you're doing now. Because I know you've been on this really amazing journey since we met. We met in 2015, 16, I think.
Yeah. And that's right around the time when Wandering Ant was born.
Yeah.
I was wanting to, I love writing, and I had a blog when I was a kid and in high school. And I thought, oh, I kind of want to document, like start writing. And it's funny because when I was in high school, the name of my blog was Chocolate Shoes and
Shoot.
Chocolate Shoes
Oh,
because
cool.
I was
So clever.
combining I was combining my two loves at the time. So I was like, ooh, I like chocolate. Ooh, I like shoes. So why not have that be my blog? Did I write about either of those things? No, I wrote about annoying teenage drama. But I think that stuck with me though as I was in my 20s and started thinking like, ooh, what do I want to call my blog? And I was thinking again about like what are the things that I really love? And of course, wanderlust, wandering, travel, like that is innately within me in my blood. And then I'm also an auntie extraordinaire. And I thought, wandering ant, that sounds really cool. And that was something that just like came through and it clicked. And I was like, ooh, and I immediately went and bought the domain because I thought, ooh, what if somebody else is onto this? And so I got it, and it's really, yeah, that kind of, and I didn't even know at the time where it was going to go. I started, like, my first blog was called Becoming Aunt Robin, and I was writing
Oh,
about like that experience. And then it just evolved over time with just my own life lessons, what I was learning, and then my travels when I started that, like sharing some of those stories and experiences. And
mm-hmm.
then from there, my blog expanded more into my business. And
Mm-hmm.
then Solo Experiences was born out of that.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Okay. And then that evolved. So I remember the day when we were at a retreat in 2017 and you were going back and forth about what to do, about to take the leap, take the jump. And it was right after that that you decided to buy that ticket, right? To Thailand,
Yeah.
right? And
Yes.
take the jump. So what do you think it was that was the oomph, that was the thing that made you finally take the jump and leap?
Whew. I mean, retreat, as you know, is retreats are so powerful and they get us out of our everyday environment
Mm-hmm.
and put us somewhere where possibility lives, like just we're surrounded by it. And then you're surrounded by other people who are showing up inside of their own possibilities. And also, I think it was just for me, that was like the real start of my own spiritual journey and kind of untangling all of my learnings and my beliefs and everything. And so I didn't really have a background in meditation. I never like really connected the way like in church, I never felt God the way that people would say you were supposed to feel God. And it really wasn't until I went on this retreat in Guatemala that I started like experiencing signs. And that first day, I still remember we were in a meditation and it came through so clearly that I was playing it safe. And that was kind of a big wake up moment for me where I recognized like, oh, it's like I have these big ambitions. And when I say safe, I had a great life. I had a secure job. I had great friends. I was I was traveling every year. I started traveling when I studied abroad in college and every year since then. But for me, it wasn't like I was staying inside of my own box. And so it was just really like safe. Yeah. And then recognizing these experiences where I could see other people who had taken either similar leaps or leaps in their own way and see like, ooh, okay, I'm not alone in this. And then what really clicked for me was I had read, if you don't know, you don't go. And if that just like really hit me because I thought, I really need to know. I need to know what's going to happen. So,
and what was it about that book that inspired you to do it? Because if you don't know, you don't go, right?
Right. Yeah.
And you didn't
and
know,
if you don't,
you went.
Right. And it was more like the curiosity, like following my curiosity, because my life was so predictable. And I think that was part of what made it so difficult for me with leaving corporate was I knew every year, it's like I was doing the same things in my role every year. And it felt like Groundhog Day in many ways. And so whenever I read that, I thought, oh my goodness. And it's similar. You could interchange the words. If you don't try, then you won't know. And so it's like, what's the worst that's going to happen? You try and it doesn't work out and you go back, then
there you go.
So,
and it hasn't been the same. I mean, you at that time sold all your stuff, right?
I did. Yes.
You sold all your car, everything, and you've really been a nomad since, correct?
Yeah. Yes. 7 years now.
Wow.
Almost.
And tell us what the biggest challenge has been in that journey for you.
Honestly, the biggest challenge was the pandemic. And that's when my life just really, it felt like it stopped. And because I had just started building momentum, I had been traveling almost about 18 months at that point, and I was just like on the go, and it was exciting. And I was starting to get downloads for my business, and I was doing this photo shoot mission that I'd started in my travels. And it was like everything just felt like exciting and aligning. And then all of a sudden it was just gone. And I couldn't go anywhere. I didn't know what was happening. And it was really, in many ways, it felt like an identity crisis where I had to really go deep and look at like, who am I without travel? And that's when I rented a car and I drove west and went to your place. And that was like in Colorado. And that ended up being my safe haven. And I kept canceling. I was like, the rental car place was closed, so I couldn't return the car anyway. So I was like, well, might as well just stay. And I think that's when around the time when we did our Create Your Blank retreat. And I started like, really, you supported me a lot with the identity piece, because it was, many people, like when you're starting something new, you do go through imposter syndrome or feeling like a fraud or like, who am I without this thing that's been defining me for so long? And it was really beautiful because it was through that experience that I feel like Soulo experiences, because I got that download at the beginning of 2019, but I didn't lead my first retreat until 2023. I was
Yeah.
planning on leading my first retreat in 2020. And then, of course, the
Mm-hmm.
pandemic hit. But I
Mm-hmm.
didn't realize at the time how much I needed to actually grow and catch up to be the person who could take other people and lead others on these experiences. So it was really, even though it was a big challenge, it ended up being like a really amazing blessing.
Isn't that cool? I get goosebumps on my neck when I hear that, because it's so poetic. Life is so poetic, how the worst experiences that we can have end up being our brightest lights, right? And
Yes.
sort of
Yes.
it paved the way for you to kind of solidify your journey, right? And
Yeah.
get solid with who you were and are, and then take that out into the world. That's
Yes.
really cool. I love that so much. So, what would you say to anybody out there who is wanting to create their blank, and it is around that sort of thing of giving up the corporate job and
Mm.
doing something completely different? What would you recommend?
Ooh, yeah, I've learned a lot since that time. And again, I think it's different for everyone. Some people, I would say, like, if I were to go back and do it myself, then I would have liked to have prepared a little more, saved more money.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, I could really recognize that it was the same story for me every year. It's like
Mm-hmm.
I had an event with my company every year, and it would stress me out, and I would say like, oh, this isn't going to matter because I'm not going to be here next year. And then next year would roll around and I'd say, oh, this isn't going to matter because I'm not going to be here next year. And so I knew that for me, that cycle was just going to keep going. And so I needed to like actually disrupt the pattern. And so
Mm.
that's for myself, it was kind of like, okay, I just need to do this thing. And so I left with little savings. And that's why part of why I sold my car and cashed in, like, I cashed in my 401k. I did like, I literally put all my chips in. But for other people, I would say like really trusting your path. And it might be a combination of that. Like, I will say that when you are creating your blank, following your heart, the universe really does have your back and is going to support you with whatever it is that your heart is calling you to. Now, it's not going to be easy, and it's definitely not going to go the way that you think it's going to go, but
Definitely.
I there's so many times where I was like, how am I still doing this? Like, it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make sense. But
Mm-hmm.
that's when I knew it was just like I really was on my own soul journey, following
Mm-hmm.
like what I was uniquely designed to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I would definitely say like follow that. If you keep having that
Mm-hmm.
feeling, it's like one of the oracle cards. It's like that niggling feeling, and so it's like trust the niggle. And if it
Yeah.
keeps you awake at night, or you're dreaming about it, or you just can't stop thinking about it, like
Yes.
what is it costing you by not doing it?
There you go. That's the question. What is it costing you by not taking the leap, right? And then it's trusting your really, really trusting, tuning in and trusting your intuition, and know that that you're being guided,
Yeah.
and that you'll have everything you need as you take one step in front of the other. And as you're creating your blank, things will be revealed. You'll meet the right people. You'll be inspired to take the right actions, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah, that's so cool. Okay. Thank you, Robin. So, how do or what would you like to share about your programs, and what you how to get in touch with you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have various ways. So if somebody is really wanting to, maybe they're not ready to, they don't need the full on coaching experience, but they want to really set themselves up, create intentions for a travel experience, whether it's solo or with other people. I have a desire session, a solo desire session that I do that supports you in setting the intentions before your journey, getting clear on like how you really want to feel, what you want to experience, what types of people you want to meet, like really creating that. And
Yeah.
then after, when you come back, we do an integration session, because that, again, a lot of times it's like we go on these amazing experiences and then we come back and nobody wants to hear about it. Your friends are like, right. I'm like, call me anytime. But, it could be like, oh, yeah, that's cool. Or people having FOMO or whatever. But I always take it a step further, where it's like, we're really going to look at like, okay, how did your feel words, your intentions show up in your experience? And now how are you creating that in your life as you move forward? Because that's also something that we segment our vacation life versus our regular life. And this is all about like blending. So that's one session that I offer. And then if somebody wants to go on like a deeper journey and they're clear, like, ooh, they may have an experience that they're intimidated by, and they need somebody who can be with them, coach them through that, prepare them for it, be with them on demand. So be like, I'm your on-call person when you're on your experience. So if you run into anything, like I had a client who, he was in Portugal and he messaged me and he said, my Airbnb took me to a dumpster. And, and so I like just in the moment was able to message the host, figure it out, get him the right like longitude, latitude coordinates.
Good.
But it's little things like that, knowing that you have somebody that you can lean on. And then we do the sessions as part of that as well, and post travel integration, and then retreats. So I have some exciting retreats coming up.
Cool. So I love the integration piece, because you can go on the travel, you can do the thing, and you can be bold and you can be courageous, but then you come home, and having you available for that integration and how you're going to incorporate all that into your life. And might I say your brand new life, because things transform when you're doing your solo journey, right?
Yes. 100%.
Yeah. Very cool. So, how do people get a hold of you?
Wandering Ant, AUNT. That's my website, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. I'm not on TikTok as much, but I'm on there. So many places where you can find me.
Cool. All right. Well, it's been my honor to have you join me today, Robin. And it was great having you on the show and hearing you share all about your journey with everyone. So that's a wrap for today. If you enjoyed this segment, feel free to add comments, as we'd love to hear from you. And if you'd like to receive notifications of future episodes, please click that subscribe button. And thanks so much for tuning in. And we hope you have a beautiful day. Bye.